Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start with a karakia.
Tuea ki te mauri o te whenua, tuea ki te mana o te tangata, tuea ki te pono, te aroha, kia peke, kia eke, ki te taumata, hui e taiki.
So, very special welcome to all members of the public and everyone else. It's good to have you all here participating in the council business. Item number 2, apologies. We have one apology today. It's from Councillor Christine Rankin. Can we have someone move? Councillor Shepherd is a seconder. Councillor Foreman. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Am I missing something?
Councillor Cameron. Councillor Cameron, not Shepherd. I even moved it so you could see it.
My humble apologies, Councillor. Item number 3, conflicts of interest. I need to declare a conflict of interest with regards to the item 6.3 relates to the Taupō Airport, and I will not be voting on that item. Are there any other conflicts of interest that anyone else wishes to declare? If not, we'll move on to item 4.1, confirmation of the minutes. Can I have a mover to accept the minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of February 26th? Councillor Cameron, thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Woburn, thank you very much. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Moving on to item 5.1, public forum, in which it's an opportunity for the public to speak for 5 minutes. Cornelia Dempsey, we understand you know the rules very clearly, being a former council employee, so the floor is all yours.
I forgot that part. Kia ora koutou te whānau. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to my submission on the local representation review and also the TMTB joint management agreement today. For those I'm yet to meet, ko Cornelia Dempsey tōku ingoa, he uri ahau no Ngāti Parau, te whānau apanui me ngā tūhui hoki, engari I tipu ake au ki Turangi, kei rara tōku ngākau me oku mātua I Inohoana. For context, I just explained where I'm from, but that I also had the immense privilege of being raised in this beautiful rohe, in Turangi in particular. I'm speaking today from my own personal and professional experience, having had the privilege of working across council's iwi partnerships, community engagement and governance teams for almost 17 years. Over that time, I've seen what strengthens localism and trust and what undermines it. One of the key lessons is how you engage matters just as much as how often. Informal conversations absolutely have value. They build relationships and surface issues early. But when informal engagement becomes the sole mechanism, it places a heavy burden on individuals to hold context, manage complexity, and ensure follow-through. Well-supported, well-resourced, locally based representative groups do something different. They provide continuity, transparency, and a collective local lens that reduces individual bias. They create space for issues and opportunities to be tested, refined, and properly understood before they reach council for endorsement. These community representative groups are particularly important for our smaller, rural, and communities that experience high deprivation, where access to decisions is already limited. From a Māori perspective, formality matters too. The progress council has made toward greater Māori representation didn't happen by accident. It was built through years of wānanga, significant voluntary contributions from iwi and Māori, and careful consideration of te tiriti obligations. That work informed the Māori Representation Review, the establishment of the Te Papa Māori Award, and Māori representation on each of Council's representative groups that you are considering at the moment. Any changes to local decision-making arrangements therefore need to be assessed carefully against that progress to ensure we don't go backwards and weaken Māori voice. For context, this is important to you as you have clear statutory obligations to actively maintain and improve opportunities for Māori participation in your decision making. These obligations are not optional, they are embedded in law and reinforced through your long-term plan and community outcomes. I don't personally see this review as a simple choice about whether representative groups should exist or not. If it were, one would have expected a formal engagement process, including targeted hui with Māori entities and a clear question in the community engagement survey asking whether those groups should remain. I do, however, whānau, see an opportunity to strengthen rep groups and engagement generally through a multi-layered approach, one that offers multiple pathways for engagement, maintains accountability while improving how council empowers locally led decisions. That brings me to the JMA with the Tūwharetua Māori Trust Board. I want to acknowledge the subject matter experts who have led this important and awesome mahi to date. This draft JMA, a project I also had the privilege of being involved in before leaving council, did not appear overnight, nor has it been driven by ideology. It is the product of years of careful analysis, statutory responsibility, and good faith collaboration, building on decades of success through the development of the Waikato River Act, the Lake Taupō Protection Project, and Council's existing JMAs with other iwi. Those partnerships have delivered tangible economic and environmental benefits for our district by protecting water quality and safeguarding the natural assets that underpin economic development, tourism, property values, investor confidence, and long-term prosperity. All things, I imagine, are important to us. I encourage councillors to look past the negative rhetoric that has clouded parts of this conversation and focus instead on the purpose in front of you, protecting Lake Taupō, its tributaries, and the Waikato River, so they can continue to sustain us and future generations. This agreement is about shared stewardship, legal clarity, and better outcomes for everyone. Healthy waters are fundamental, and the cost of inaction will be far greater than the minuscule costs of supporting the full scope of this progressive partnership. Whānau, there also seems to be a real misunderstanding among people in our community about the costs of this agreement. That misinformed narrative needs to be addressed, because it's important for our community to understand what's fact and what's divisive fiction, which leads me to my next point. I want to take these last minutes to acknowledge the Tūwharetua Māori Trust Board for their significant contributions to our district. Alongside their deep environmental expertise and major economic investments, including this beautiful whare we're all in today, the hole-in-one upgrade and other ventures, they have made massive contributions to the social and cultural fabric of our communities through substantial financial and in-kind support towards things like youth programs and large-scale community events. Again, things I've privileged to be a part of, to name a few. Their support has brought Māori and non-Māori in positive ways together and recognised nationally. These are tangible outcomes that directly enhance the vibrancy, cohesion and pride of our district, a benefit felt by all of us, not just Ngāti Tūwharetua people. I also want to acknowledge Council for upholding the mana of the mana whakahono o Ngāti Turangi-Tukua. The ongoing generosity of Turangi-Tukua through continued public use of their whenua, their land, and the many other sacrifices continues to bring real benefits to our southern communities. In closing, I urge Council to continue standing behind Ngāti Turangi-Tukua aspirations for our community by honouring the full investment committed in your long-term plan. Whether that's funding for the Turangi Recreational Activity Centre, the treatment of Turangi's wastewater, or other critical commitments, and by ensuring that the intergenerational community feedback you already hold is respected, not diluted, and not lost. I've personally witnessed generations of young people present to Council asking for the same thing, safe, modern community facilities that gives them a chance to thrive. Too often those pleas have been met with delay, while facilities well past the expiry date continue to limit our kids, our whānau, our community and visitors. This is your opportunity, whānau, to break that cycle and to show that long-term commitment to supporting a thriving Turangi and Taupō district truly matters. I apologise if I went over my time. Thank you for listening, and I'm more than welcome to attempt to answer any questions if you have any. Kia ora.
Thank you, Cornelia. Are there any questions? Councillor Greenslade.
No questions. Thank you very much, Cornelia. Lovely to see you, and a really, really great presentation to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Greenslade.
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to say thank you again, as well as Sandra mentioned, that was a deep, insightful perspective. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, no, thank you for coming along. And you raised an interesting question, which I still haven't had the answer to. Is how much is it going to cost? Very good question.
Can I respond?
You can answer that one.
I guess given the privilege of having been involved in this project before leaving council, as well as refreshing my memory of the content of the current draft, I did observe many references in the agreement itself actually that talks about the parties bearing their own costs. So yeah, like I said, I'm a little bit I guess confused as to why there's this perception out there in the community that it's going to cost ratepayers lots of money, whereby, you know, in the spirit of partnership, one would expect to acknowledge that the contributions that the Trust Board have already made to our community should be weighted.
Councillor Delator.
Thank you. Thanks, Cornelia. Really interesting. I think I'm going back to the representative groups, your comments around that at the start. I think the idea or the feedback from some of them last year, and me being a new councillor this trainee, I'm keen for your feedback, was that some of the public were feeling like they would like the opportunity to speak at these sorts of meetings, and I think the idea was to try and give them a way of doing that. Did you have any thoughts or recommendations around how we could keep what's working well but also allow people to do that, or two different things?
My understanding is that there are already mechanisms at place that enable that public interaction or public to speak at each of the representative groups. Is that correct? No, sorry if really. I'm not. Okay. Well then, yeah, look at that, you know. Yep. There's got to be some ways that can be incorporated.
Thank you.
Councillor Cameron.
My question was along similar lines, actually, because this discussion wasn't raised because we wanted to dismantle rep groups. We wanted to enhance the representation, have more councillors going out to the various regions, and a lot of the feedback that we've been receiving is that we're unapproachable. There aren't enough opportunities to ask questions and that sort of thing. So I guess as we sort of move into deliberation and deciding on this, I'm considering all of that feedback. Would you think that if there was an established process and mechanism whereby accountability is ensured, there's still reporting, perhaps even a website for each individual ward so that, absentee owners are there, would that, with a less formal approach to the meetings, enhance representation in your opinion?
I think the opportunity potentially lost there is decision making. And yes, the representative groups are, I guess, limited in terms of what decisions they can make. But my experience during my time at council was that very seldom did recommendations that went up to council from the representative groups were they declined. There may have been situations where the item would go back for further consideration, but that is my concern, is that local opportunity to sorry, what's the word I'm trying to find? Inform decisions at this at this table and at their own. That's where I think the opportunity is going to be hugely lost. And yes, it's not the best platform for all people to feel comfortable to engage. And that's why I love it that you guys are looking at a multi-layered approach to enhance.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Welcome.
Are there any further questions from the floor? Councillor Mananui.
Thanks, Cornelia. That was great. Just in support of back to the rep groups, I think the intent initially, it still is, was to cast the net, take a fresh perspective on it. Interestingly, I found coming in Taupō ward, where a bulk of our population didn't have a rep group, which I found really odd. So that was all. I think the intent was to listen to everyone and do something good ahead of initiating that. That was all. Otherwise, thanks for the kōrero. It was awesome.
Kia ora.
Are there any further questions? Councillor Foreman.
I suppose it'll be it's more of a comment, picking up and acknowledging some of the challenges that you've laid down for us around engagement, around communications, and how we consider the voice of the community. So thank you for bringing those to us today.
Kapai. And sorry, I should have introduced myself. I'm also very privileged to be a voluntary trustee and chair of the Turangi Rangatahi Hub in Turangi. So again, I just, my plea to you is to please consider the views that they have already expressed. They stood in front of council at, the last long-term plan submission process and, really laid that foundation that reiterated what's already been shared with council in the past in terms of the needs of our young people in Turangi.
Thank you, Cornelia, for your submission. I'm sure the team will take it all on board.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Tristan. So Tristan, just press the button there. You've got 5 minutes.
That one?
Plus question time. So.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak here to the Mayor and the Taupō District Councillors. I appreciate the opportunity. And thank you for the good work you do around the Taupō District. It is appreciated. It's a difficult thing for a member of the public coming into this space because a lot of people think that decisions are made and there's no real point. It's very hard to get any change or to be heard on something like which I'm going to talk about today, which I could say bring back legal tender cash as a payment method at the Taupō District landfill, which was on the 1st of August 2025 removed as a payment option for the public. And a lot of us felt that we weren't consulted about this. It was just, okay, this is, we're being dictated to in a way by our public servants. And it makes the use of the dump more challenging, as well as the excessive costs of the dump, which is now $280 per tonne. A lot of that money is based on emissions trading, 1.8 million, which is based on the climate change stuff. So these things, especially for elderly, so it's taking away legal tender. It makes the use of our landfill, and it's not like a restaurant goes cashless. And so you can go to another restaurant. So if the dump goes cashless, if there was public consultation, feel free to inform us about that. It felt like we were just told one day we're cashless. You have another option. You have another option to go to a restaurant that accepts cash, because cash is a key way of life. It affords us privacy. It's legal tender. And China, and CCP China, they have phased out cash. They've phased it out. The government said it's too hard to monitor the use of cash, so we need it to be all digital. And I realise it's been said that it's a health and safety issue, although I think making the dump harder to access for people increases illegal dumping. It increases the cost of living crisis, which, when you're paying $280 per tonne, and a lot of its emissions trade to 1.8 million emissions trading, that is a significant cost. People will illegally dump, burn rubbish. The other day I did cleared a yard of an elderly couple in the 80s and 90s of their green waste, took it to the dump. They wanted to pay me cash to do the dump run. But what are they going to do? Give me the FPOS card? Am I going to pay on FPOS? Then they transfer the money, which they're not literate. So I would say that this could be called bring back cash as a payment method at the Taupō District landfill, or health and safety regulations are making our life harder and more difficult, because it doesn't make things easier for us. If I go, the Kiwi way, I've got my wallet, I can pay credit card, EFTPOS or cash. That's just another option. It just gives us more flexibility. The other thing too is, up at the dump site, there is very limited Wi-Fi. So if you go up and your account is low on cash, you try and transfer it, you have to drive down the road. People tell me that it's difficult. It's difficult. And then we get told it's from health and safety. Has there ever been an instance up at the Taupō District Council landfill of some staff's health and safety be put at risk due to having cash on site? If I'm asking a question, has that happened? Because we have to accept that is just how it is, and just because the woman up there I've spoken to have said they've never had an instance of having their health and safety be put at risk. What is the percentage of cash being used? I would say probably 15 to 20%. Most people prefer cards, it's easier. So we get sold these things. It makes our lives more difficult. It affects the Kiwi way of life, our right to privacy, our right to autonomy. And then, it makes our life more challenging. And then we come to our public servants and ask, why was this decision made? Who made the decision? Were we consulted about the decision? Was there any research into the impact of people who use cash at the dump? How that would negatively affect people accessing that facility?
Tristan, I'm going to have to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Your 5 minutes is up. Thank you for your submission.
Thank you.
I'm well aware of your position on this. I have to say it's quite a pleasure to have you here and me chairing the meeting, which you normally do when we're all politicking for the role. But yes, you do raise a valid point. On the health and safety issue, of course, you don't wait till there's an accident, you try and put in measures to prevent it. And I actually don't have the answer to the question myself, but I know we're in the process of replying to you, so maybe we can get back to you on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure there'll be some discussion. There'll certainly be some questions that'll follow. But so are there any questions of Tristan? Duncan, Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, just on the health and safety question, when I was thinking about that, what are the health and safety potential possibilities there? And the only ones I could possibly think of was, held up robbery, and that would be probably one of the daftest places I could imagine anyone doing it, because it's probably all recorded on CCTV. So, my understanding is that never happened. And the other one was, just like going during COVID, passing bugs and flu bugs and things like that, which I imagine could just as easily be dealt with by reasonable hand care and hand wash and stuff. So I suppose I do myself wonder what was ever the problem, and it sounds like it was a solution looking for a problem, and I'm not convinced it was ever a problem. So I personally would like that decision to be revisited.
Yeah, and also it is a New Zealand-wide thing. There's councils all around the country looking at, for various reasons, going cashless, whether it be for safety, whether it be for efficiency, whether it be for there's cost and time involved in handling the cash.
Councillor Woodward, do you have a question? Sorry to interrupt, Tristan, but we...
Yes, I would just like to thank Tristan for coming in and bringing this topic to us. I was made aware about this last year, and I was under the impression that the reason that the dumps went cashless was because of the Enviro company themselves putting that rule to us as a council. But as a council, could we not go back and say that our people do need to have the cash option?
I do have a update on that. After I sent the message to the councillors and the mayor, I went to the dump 3 days that week, and they accepted cash every day, as long as you had the correct amount. So they were accepting cash. The woman at the kiosk said it was legal tender. They were happy to receive it. The reason I'm here speaking now is because the head of solid waste management called me last week and said that he's going to be stopping that, and there's nothing anyone could do to bring cash back. So, yeah.
Tristan, thank you for your submission. I'm sure that your point has been made loud and clear to the councillors. Thank you.
Well, through the chair, can I just say a word about public forum?
No.
No?
Do you got a question, Councillor Campbell?
Well, that is a question, actually. It's a question for you, Your Worship. Look, I just want to say public forum is a wonderful opportunity that members of the public get granted to come and say their piece for 5 minutes uninterrupted. I'm aware not every council actually has this open enough format. But contradicting that, in my mind, certainly in terms of democracy, your elected members here are not granted the same opportunity to say their piece about council matters. And 2 years ago,
if we want a
that
point of
opportunity...
order, I'm happy to raise one.
Well, I don't want a point of order, thank you very
Point
much.
of order. The matter has already been canvassed. He's already spoken about this. And if you look at standing orders, matters that have already been discussed, you cannot come back and relitigate them.
Well, through the chair, I'll ask you, Your Worship, when are you going
I
to allow
suggest
for
you
free
stop.
and open public
Councillor
discourse in these chambers, meaning elections are worth the bother of having at all? That is a question for you, Your Worship.
This is question time of the people in the forum. I think we need to move on. We need someone to move and second that we accept the submissions from the members of the public. Moved Councillor Cameron, seconded Councillor Murch. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Item 5.2, new public road name, Hiahi Ero Eco Park, Taupō. Welcome, Kim.
Oh, is it that one? Hi, I'm Kim Smiley, the resource consent planner that did the subdivision, which is now needing a new public road. That's the Hiahi Industrial Park. They've just lodged stage 1 of the subdivision for 224C approval, and for that they need the new road name to be approved. I've checked it against the roading standards, emergency services, and we've also got a letter of support from the relevant iwi group, on behalf of the relevant iwi. So the name is Wera Road that they're proposing. Wera means hot. And yeah, so it's before you to approve today.
Can we have a mover and seconder for that?
I like the name. I'll approve it.
So Councillor Foreman moved it, Councillor Westerman seconded. Is there any discussion on that? Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick note on the pronunciation, perhaps, that we do try to get those right. Wera. Thank you.
I'll apologise. I look forward to your lessons. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, just to point out, it's nice we're not having another Lakeview Road. I'm sure we've got a few of those around. Just pointing out, we've had some less than imaginative road names in the past, so this is something a little bit different.
Any other questions of Kim or anyone else? Any debate on this? Okay, have we got a motion on the screen there? the council approves the following road name within the Hiahi Eco Park. I'm too scared to have a go at trying to pronounce it. Whera Road. Thank you. All those in favour, no, it's been moved and second. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Item 5.3. Approval to stop an unused legal road and transfer into adjoining landowner, Old Acacia Bay Road. Jacob, welcome.
Good afternoon. I'm Jacob and Transport Team. Thank you for having me today. In 2005, Taupō District Council extended, or it was a little bit later than that, but extended Wakeman Road from where it finished previously at the bottom of Brunette Drive through to Acacia Bay Road. And in doing that, they needed to obtain land from the proprietors of Hiroharama Pōnui block. As part of the realignment of roads, there was a section of legal road which was left to be unused. The agreement at the time was that that land would be transferred back to those proprietors at that time. It was delayed as we had some services within that corridor, water and wastewater. Those services have subsequently been removed, and now we're just finalising everything. Thank you.
Happy to move.
Oh, to the chair, just a question. Oh.
Oh, sorry, I just have a question.
We had some questions, yeah. Oh, you go first.
I was just going to clarify for my own benefit that this is a bit of a formality, isn't it? Because the financial exchange has happened, everybody's on board, and it's just something we need to do to finalise an agreement. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So in 2007, a financial transaction was completed. Everyone was of the understanding that the process was to be finished. Due to staffing at the time, people moving on, it sort of got put to the bottom of the pile, and now we're just finalising things now.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, through the
Councillor
chair.
Campbell.
So just to affirm, there's no council services in that area that we're going to need to access and all that sort of stuff that might become more inconvenient? No?
No, I can confirm everything's been removed.
Yeah.
Are there any further questions? Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just following on from the question that I sent through to the team last night was, has there been any recent correspondence with Hiroharama to confirm that this recommendation still aligns? And I was told by Tony this morning that the incorporation is still happy for this, but that background context I feel would have been appropriate in our agenda. Thank you.
Any further questions?
Just one, Your Worship. I'm just noting again, like a broken record that I am, this organisation has been continually inserting political messaging. Now I presented Your Worship with a letter of some of the evidence of that on 18th of February. I'm just wondering what is going to be done about that.
Point of order, relevance to the agenda item.
Well, through the chair, it's actually this insertion is actually in this item's paper in the body of it, so it's kind of relevant to virtually every single item on the agenda.
Doesn't affect our decision making though.
So, Councillor Campbell, this relates to a paper that you have circulated?
Yes, a letter addressed to you 18th of February, it's not long ago. It's regarding council agenda templates and Treaty of Waitangi references. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm just questioning what's going to be done about that.
Sorry,
that's
Councillor
all.
Campbell, we're off subject here with that letter of what we're debating at the moment.
Well, I only bring it up because there's no other opportunity to bring it up,
Kia ora,
actually,
Chair.
and it actually is in the body of this report. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Kia ora, Chair. Just maybe can we address the elephant in the room? And it would be good if you actually approached an agenda item like we're supposed to, appropriately. If you want it talked about, ka pai, but do it in the appropriate way, not sidetrack other business and waste everybody's time again and again.
Well,
So we're on item 5.3, approval to stop an unused legal road transfer into adjoining. Approval to stop an unused legal road and transfer to adjoining landowner. Someone want to move that?
So it's been moved by Rachel. And it's being moved by Rachel and seconded.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting confused there, more than normal. So have we got a motion?
Yeah, it's all there. That's why it's on the screen.
Is everyone happy to put that motion to the table? Yep. As on the screen. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Thank you. Item 5.4, regional triennial agreements. Aidan,
thank you for your time.
please take them.
This is just procedural, so I'll take the paper as read. I do have two updates though, as identified in the paper. Hawke's Bay Mayoral Forum met yesterday and they made no changes from what you've seen, so that's okay to be adopted as it was provided to you. Manawatu Whanganui, their agreement has not been confirmed by the Mayoral Forum. They were supposed to meet on the 16th of February, but they postponed due to weather events in the areas. So I seek to have that removed through the recommendation, that's number 2 there. And I'll bring that back to you next month, along with the Waikato agreement, which is still forthcoming. That's it from me.
So just to amend that, the motion is there on the screens. Can we have a mover for that?
through the chair, can I have a question?
Go ahead.
Well, it doesn't always work like that, so before I know it, it's finished, so. okay, yeah, sorry.
You don't have a comment?
Not yet.
Okay. Can we have a mover for that motion? Councillor Cameron, seconder. Councillor Leonard. Now, questions or debate?
Oh, yeah, look, Aidan, just a question. Are there any material changes from the existing agreement that
No, there's a few changes. The paper sets them out. For Bay of Plenty region is the one that we're most involved with. There's some minor changes in there that are set out in the paper, and nothing substantive for us as a minor party in the Hawke's Bay paper.
Yes, okay, just to confirm that. And for the public's consumption, I ask that question.
Are there any further questions?
Yes.
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just following on from what Duncan said there, this is new to us, us new councillors as well. So I did have a quick look back at previous agendas and any minutes where this has been brought up before, and it does seem that each time it has been carried. So I just wondered how this process does work, if the other councillors are happy to share whether or not it just seems that it's approved quite quickly, that's all. So I just wondered if there was worth any conversation around the actual agreements. And I was looking at the Bay of Plenty one, they have taken out the 4 well-beings for them, and I know under the LGA that has been pushed, but I want to ensure that our well-beings are looked after, so how would our council ensure that?
Excuse me, happy to speak from previous trienniums. It is a formality, but I've taken the trouble of reading the agreements previously to make sure there's nothing in there that's going to bite us, and there isn't. This is a rollover from every other triennium. In terms of the well-beings, the refresh to the Local Government Act or the systems improvement bill has clearly signalled they're gone. So if we were to put this in, or if the regional agreements were to put that in, they'd have to come back to us in a very short period of time to have them removed. So I guess they are preempting what the government has very clearly signalled is going to happen anyway. So I hear you, and I have some fairly firm views on the wellbeings as well. I suspect they probably align with your own thoughts, but that's where we sit.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, it just occurred to me. I mean, just an example of something. I'm not saying it's slipping in here now, but that with the if we something that the Bay of Plenty does different from us, which would have implications here if it slipped in here. The Bay of Plenty Regional Council had implications for Rotorua actually, and it's all to do with the Tarawera wastewater pipe project misadventure, I would call it, and it all revolved around a simple rule in the Bay of Plenty Regional Council that thou shalt not have septic tanks within 250 metres of lake edges, and that drove the whole thing. And from my outside observer opinion, it was quite a misadventure and very costly to the Tarawera residents. And that's the sort of thing which I wouldn't really just like slipping in there and happening to us as well. But there's no chance of that happening, is there?
For the most part, what the agreements do is they set a forum where we can raise such issues. So they're about councils working together across the region. So most of them work in all our 4 regions. They do that by establishing mayoral forum, which we can attend to raise issues like that, to head them off at the pass, so to speak. So they're a mechanism that allows us to work together on common issues that affect us all.
Yeah, it's just some little thing I can imagine just slipping into some document at some time and then happening. But yeah, have to keep an eye out.
Are there any other questions? We're here. Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just want to say thank you, Kevin, for that answer there. That was a great answer. Thank you. Just another question here. The agendas do, in the agenda it does mention in the agreements Te Tiriti principles in passing, but how do these agreements actively give effect to Te Tiriti, and are there any mandatory iwi co-design clauses?
Aidan and I are looking at each other going, which one of us is going to take that question? So thank you, firstly, Councillor Woodward, for the question. So again, just reiterating, these are about how councils come together to work. They will all have their own treaty obligations or requirements, and they all have different ways of working with their iwi partners. And so often it's a case of a topic coming to perhaps the mayoral forum, and then we have a conversation about how we're going to engage our partners. So I wouldn't expect that to be embedded in the document itself, but more a discussion about how each council works on a policy matter. I hope that was not a very good answer to your question, so hopefully, and please tell me if that don't do justice to your question.
Thank you, Julie. Basically answered that question, and just supplementary to that. So have our key iwi partners been sent these agreements, and have they been consulted, and do they agree with them as well, or it's not necessary?
Simply a case of how councils would work together. So no, they haven't been shared with iwi partners, but I would say say for example the Waikato, I'm just thinking of an example, where often the mayoral forum will meet in the morning and then there'll be an iwi chairs meeting in the afternoon. So it would be separate from the triennial agreement, but that's how, for example, in the Waikato they work.
Councillor Cameron.
I'm just going to check my understanding of it now that we've had these questions. My understanding of these agreements is because that our district overlaps 4 different boundaries and we have to have an agreement in place as to how we will engage and how we will work through some of the issues, such as the one that Duncan suggested. So these agreements aren't about how we operate on our own, it is how we engage. What the process is to engage, how often the mayoral forums will be run, who gets to go, all of those sorts of things. So it is very procedural. In terms of slipping anything in, well, I hope you read the document pretty well there, Duncan.
Councillor Murch.
Hi, I just, as a new councillor, I think we've got a bit of an opportunity here for us to, as a council, I suppose, just reflect on the past agreements and then obviously look at ways to improve the agreements moving forward, because I think I'm kind of on the similar page as Hope, in the sense that it would have been nice to know about mayoral forums as they happen, and then how the councillors around the table can actually provide constructive feedback into the agreements, rather than just receiving them as a paper at our board meetings, at our monthly board meetings, so that we can actually look at ways to try and make improvements to the agreements overall, I think. And because obviously for me, I'm not too sure how often mayoral forums are, but I would want to know that the Taupō the Taupō district, has a strong swinging voice in those mayoral forums, and that anything that the district councillors here believe could help improve the agreements are actually being voiced and strongly tabled at those forums. So maybe a bit of an update from you, John, would be really helpful in that sense.
They're pretty high level, and the last one I went to in the Bay of Plenty was more about emergency stuff as a result of the landslide in Tauranga. A lot of time was spent on that.
So if I may, I think there's two things. One is the triennial agreement, which, to be honest, is simply about we all come together and talk about topics that come to the mayoral forum. So I don't think actually, personally, putting time and focus into amending the triennial agreement document will change that. What I do think, though, we can take from this conversation is the desire for the councillors to be informed about what's coming up on the mayoral forum, and how you might influence or what you might want to push forward in that space. So I think that's perhaps what I would say is the result of this conversation, but not necessarily focusing too much on changing the wording in the document.
No, yeah, that's right, Julie. That's where I'm coming from. I'm Kate Pai, all good with the agreements. It's just around process and how we might be able to feed into that a bit more, and especially if we're considering working together with our neighbouring councils. Well, actually, how do we do that in practice? How do we actually do that?
Any further questions? Okay, we've got the recommendation on the screen there. We have a mover and a second. Put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Thank you. Item 5.5, Tania.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and councillors. Thank you for some time in your diary this afternoon. Brief overview of our paper was that in December last year, you asked us and my broader team to go out and engage with our wide community to understand how they would like to connect moving forward, and how we would like to understand the diversity of our communities. The information is in the paper, but I just wanted to share that over the period of the engagement from the 23rd of December through to the 1st of Feb, we had 21 engagements and over 413 submissions through that period. I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge my team and our wider teams, being our communications teams and our iwi hapu engagement teams, in working alongside us. And I'd also like to acknowledge each and every one of you who rocked up and stood alongside us in these corridors, because it made them even more powerful. And I would also like to acknowledge Mayor John, who came along and even played tug of war with some kids at Wairakei, which was amazing. So we very much felt the support. And I'd like to open it up to your questions.
Councillor Murch.
Thanks, Tanya. Not a question at this stage, but just want to acknowledge the mass amount of mahi that your guys' team did. It was really cool to see so much events happen at such a time in the year where everybody is, busy. It's Christmas, it's New Year's, and you guys pushed through that like champs. So just want to acknowledge that again. That mahi was massive, and I just want to, thank you guys for that mahi.
Thank you. The complexity of this engagement we haven't seen outside of a long-term plan, which obviously has a huge budget behind it as well. So, and you're right, at a time, it wasn't just our engagement team, it was the entire team, and we all leaned in, and this is how we thrive. So thank you. It's appreciated.
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have a question within this statement, but my statement first will be I do want to acknowledge the mahi that the staff did do on this. It was a lot. At the same time, I need to be honest and frank about how this review process has unfolded. Was it council initiated without a clear public request or prior trigger? You said at the start when you introduced yourselves that we asked. Who asked? Launching the survey over the Christmas and January holiday period made meaningful participation difficult for many. That alone reduced reach and contributed to frustration in our smaller communities. The survey itself presented real challenges. Questions were at times leading, confusing, or not clearly focused on representative groups. Some veered into general communication between councillors, the mayor, and the public, which diluted the original intent. There was limited explanation of the key differences between formal representative groups and the informal Councillor Connect forums. For many, that lack of clarity made it hard to respond meaningfully. In Mangakino Polokani, our ward is not just Mangakino. It includes many small, distinct communities that felt overlooked when their names were not options and they were forced to select other on the survey. That kind of erasure breeds mistrust and undermines the very harmony and diversity we say we value. However, despite these shortcomings, the feedback is powerful and quite honest. It shows a district that wants to be heard, clear, simple communication without jargon, live streaming and recording of meetings for openness, better use of email and the council website, more presence from the mayor and councils at hui's, acknowledgement of te reo Māori, and then having te reo Māori with translations where needed, and above all to be taken seriously as partners in decision making. The common theme across the survey was that local voices feel lost in the bigger council picture. So this review, even with its flaws, has surfaced important truths about how council connects or doesn't always connect with our communities. It has caused unnecessary angst and mistrust in processes, particularly among smaller and rural areas, and that is something that we must learn from and not repeat. I believe we must commit to doing better next time. Earlier timing, clearer and more focused consultation, full inclusion of community names and voices, and genuine partnership with iwi and hapu from the start. So again, my question, who initiated this survey?
Well, I can perhaps have a go at answering that.
Oh, hold on.
No, hang on. I'll just start this off. This was actually originated from when we're electioneering, and Kevin and I ran into it repeatedly, where the public said, "We only ever hear from you guys when there's an election coming up." And in fact, the most pointed of that came from Mangakino. So that was what was the start of the discussion, where we need to look at a better way of interfacing with the public.
That's just connection with people, though. That's got nothing to do with it.
That's my view on how it got started. Now, Nahui, I think you had your button down next.
Oh, mine's an actual question that's not relevant to that one. So if there's any other...
I'm happy to speak to the fact that I asked for a bit of a representation review of the rep groups. The reason I did that is because I am out and about in the community quite a lot, and a lot of the feedback was that the formal setting wasn't adequate. that the rep groups were too formal, standing orders. The only opportunity that the public had to discuss anything with us was in the public forum, where all we can do is ask questions of them. It wasn't about us answering their questions. And they wanted more representation, not just their ward councillor. They want all of the councillors to go around some of these places. And so when I said I'd like to have a look at this, I'd like to look at how we can support Sandra, who feels a bit alone down there, and Hope. How can we get more of our councillors out to these smaller regions so that decision making at this table is informed by the people in those communities? So yes, I asked for this to be looked at for that very reason. It wasn't to dismantle rep groups, it wasn't to reduce representation, it was to enhance what we had and make it more fit for purpose for the communities in their districts. I wanted to hear from them what they wanted, and then I wanted us to consider that and put that into how we meet with our rep groups and how we engage with our communities, all on the same page, supporting each other. That's why I asked for this to be done.
So we've just got a few microphones locked up here. Have you got a supplementary question?
Just an answer to that. While I appreciate that you want to give us this help, Rachel, and that's very appreciated, if you had asked us simply, we would have told you we didn't need it. Our rep groups are exactly what we need in our communities. The survey itself over this Christmas period was the issue. You asking if we wanted our rep groups is fine, but we would have happily told you that we had no problem with our rep groups. And why is one councillor saying that they wanted a rep group review? Why didn't that come to the rest of the councillors to make a decision to then go out for?
So yeah, that from memory, that was a council decision we made. So just leaving that one there, it was an all of council decision, and I was included in that decision. I was actually wanting to understand what was going out there as well. Yes, there may have been a few flaws on how we went around and did it, but I'm quite happy that we've got this, and we have another stab at it later on when we look at full representation. But that to the side, my question is probably more to councillors than these guys, who I believe did do a pretty good job considering. Was around, we've got now recommendations around representation for the different wards. We don't have there though a specific forum, and whether or not it was considered, because I saw it came up in a couple of the submissions around the rural wards specifically and Te Papa Mārearea as a whole. So whether or not we also want to consider some type of forum to capture those voices, because they aren't necessarily the same as what we have in the recommendations.
Councillor Leonard.
I'd just like to make a point around this. Was repeatedly came up via the election process why we had unelected people appointed to committees of councils, and the inappropriate level of costs of conducting these meetings when we have them in a formal setting, which was part of the reason for the review as well, was the questioning from members of the public.
Thank you, Councillor Leonard. Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I'll just make a point as well, actually, on a slightly different track. In my mind, this exercise has been something of a red herring, because the issue isn't so much about public engagement, though that is still very important. It's more about whether this council chooses to listen to what the public have to say and bend their will because of it. I think there have been plenty of examples in the past where major decisions have been made where the public have been excluded. I would include the Taupō Town Transformation Project in that. But also, when they have been included, quite extensively, have been patently ignored. And the one example in recent history that really shines out to me is the Pōkanamu roundabout project, where the community engagement was actually really good, and at the time I thought even a little bit over the top. But the almost universal request of Pōkanamu Road residents to remain unconnected to the new roundabout is being completely refused, ignored, on the very dubious basis that council has a legal right to do what the staff want, and despite resident wishes. And by the way, there is still time to change our mind on that, because it hasn't been built yet.
Because I have some additional information. That was challenged in the Environment Court by the residents, and they found in favour of council. So it was challenged and tested, and that was the outcome. I attended the hearing in full, actually.
Can I respond? Yes, no, I understand the result of that, and and I read the finding of that paper, and basically and my summary of it was that they basically proved that council did nothing illegal. That's all it proved. Council did not break the law. Council did not do anything illegal. It did not prove at all that it was a right decision or the right way forward. That's all it read to me. And I'd love to. I don't think we should let the lawyers run council, because the place would not function. But yeah.
Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's a number of issues, and I can really only speak for my ward because it's 50 kilometres away from the centre of power, and so it's sometimes a little difficult to be connected to what's actually going on in the other end. My concern at the beginning of this process was that these committees were disestablished before the consultation took place, and that to me was a really unusual thing for it to happen. I would have thought that the consultation should have taken place before the disestablishment, and we would have made that decision after the consultation, not the other way around. Speaking for the Turangi ward, over the last 2 trienniums, if we go back to just prior to the co-governance committee, the previous triennium, there were 2 councillors for the Turangi ward, and there was a community board. I think it was 8 members. In actual fact, in the last board, I think the only person who wasn't Maori on that board was actually one of the councillors. We then moved into the Mana Whakahano Rohi agreement with council, and the Turangi Co-Governance Committee was put in place with Ngāti Turangi Tukua, a long overdue arrangement in that ward. 8 members on that committee, all of them appointed, but also appointed from elected members, so a combination of elected members and non-elected members. And I think my concern was we were then faced with going into a 3rd triennium with yet another change and things being different all over again, when at the end of this triennium or in the middle of this triennium we're going to representation review, and we could be facing a 4th change in 4 trienniums. Now, if you don't think the Turangi people are going to be confused over that, then you're dreaming. You cannot keep on changing every single triennium representation in a ward. It is unacceptable. We've talked across New Zealand for years about changing to a 4-year for the government, and I see it's been rejected in the referendum, the idea's been rejected. But we're here talking about let's go and have another change. People still haven't got used to the last change. They still don't really realise that we've actually got a co-governance committee down there, and we had representative groups. The representative group actually was poorly supported, and in the 3 years that I was chair of that committee, the only person from council who attended that was Councillor Taylor. He was the only person who came down. Not another single councillor ever came down to it, not once. We tried across the district to go to different areas. We went to Taupo-Kaingaroa, we went out to Omori, went to Mochiropa, we were in Turangi town. So we did actually go across the district, and we did try to engage. But if I'm having a meeting in Hātepe, the chances of somebody from Whareroa coming over to that meeting are fairly slim. That's a heck of a long way. So even though I know the feedback came back when I read the submissions from people, oh, can we move around the district? Actually, I'm going to reject that this time around if we can. I think we should have it in one place and people know where it is and where they come to. And the ideal place would be in the eyesight, well, not the eyesight now, the customer service place in Turangi, and that's in the centre of the ward, and people know where the meeting is going to be. It was great going out to those other districts, but you only got the people who lived in that district actually coming to those meetings. So I think a little bit of a focus on the representation groups, particularly for the Mangakino and my own ward, a little bit more effort going into it, a little more discussion perhaps with staff about the agendas, and just focusing on making something that was just a baby into a teenager would be a start before we throw it out. And I'm pleased to see that in the options here that is one of the recommendations for us going forward. So I would urge my fellow councillors to support those two representative groups. I hear other councillors saying that they didn't have a representative group for the Taupō area. Fair enough, you didn't. It's all very well having 7 councillors, but you know, where did you go to have your gripes? You didn't have it. So refine what we've got, look at it carefully, think about what we want for our people, and let's work together to make it successful this time.
Thank you, Councillor Greenslade. Councillor Westerman.
Having had the first 6 years during the rep groups, I didn't know any different, and I'd been on the rep group for Kinloch, which was quite an experience, initiation you could call it by fire, and then moved into sunny little Mangakino with Kirsty at the helm. I found those meetings really pleasant, and I felt that the public had good opportunity to speak at those. So was a bit loath to see any sort of change go, but appreciate we've been through the survey. So taking on board the recommendation as option 3, I do wonder how the staff feel that that can work with segregating 2 areas with rep groups and then having the other connect forums. You know, how is that just going to work? It's going to be confusing for the general public out there. If you live in Mangakino, you're going to have a rep group. Are we still going to have community representatives on there? And just how that all plays out, I'd be interested to hear if you could fill me in.
Just through you, Your Worship. So I guess that's the opportunity to have a review process. So what we've suggested in there is that 12 months we could have a review. I guess part of the initial conversation we had back in December was around that flexibility and trying to ensure flexibility across the district. So sure, at times it may be a bit confusing for the communities, but I guess it's about how we establish these and make them successful from the outset, and really clear with our communications around what they are and what they aren't, and what they are and aren't in the different parts of the district as well. And enable the community to input into that process as well at that stage, I think will be the way that we can manage that going forward.
I think, if I may, just quickly add on that, engagement is a two-way constant thing, and so I think that while it may be or have a layer of confusion having different options across the district, I think it's how we manage that ongoing, and it can't just be a set and forget and walk forward. So yeah, there's definitely some good takeaways in that information.
Councillor Murch.
Yeah, thanks. I was just going to say that just looping back to the process, because I feel like we've had considerable discussion on this kaupapa and how we got to this point. We've had considerable discussion around this council table. And if you refer to the first page of the review of the rep groups, it's literally stated that council directed this to happen. And I think from the outset, the process, or maybe the interpretation of the process, was a bit flawed from not all councillors, but I think it created a bit of confusion out in the community around what it is that we're engaging for. I know certainly some members of the community were a bit confused. They thought the rep groups were already disestablished. Well, no, they weren't. So I think if we can just acknowledge the process that was followed here, I feel like together with council staff engagement efforts across the rohe, you guys done your job because we asked you to do that. So again, just thank you for carrying out the mahi that the council asked of you to do. And I mean, cool, we're getting a directive from Mangakino, from the Mangakino ward councillor, that if we had just asked them, they would have told us they don't need help. But actually, that's what I feel like that's what we were doing. And part of this whole engagement process was we're actually going out to get that voice from multiple people, not just one person in the room, but there's value in that. There's value in actually going out and hearing directly from the community, standing outside a New World like Councillor Foreman did, going to the parks, the reserves, hearing from youth, because actually I heard from a lot of our youth in Waitahanui, and we don't have nothing out there. And we also can't be bundled into the Taupō ward because we're not. We're a distinct community. So it's like, well, I get that we're trying to make this an equitable process for everyone, right? We can't just give a blanket one size fits all approach for all of our communities, because I acknowledge that over in Whareroa and Pukawa, Councillor Greenslade, she's got a diverse community out there, and so does Mangakino Pauakani. But I think we follow the right process, and I just want to loop us back to that, and just to bring more awareness around, there's a reason why we did this way, and just to try and hopefully clarify some of that confusion that's still lingering out in the community.
Councillor Campbell.
Oh yeah, just so I empathise with Councillor Woodward's sense that it was kind of felt like we had a solution looking around for a problem, and obviously in Mangakino and Turangi the feedback seems to be that there never was much of a problem as far as I can work out. But yeah, anyway, we're over that now. So just interested, Taupo ward, for example, moving forward, provided we go with the recommended option 3, these councillor connect forums, did you have in your mind recommended times of day? Are we talking about after hours, particular venues?
Absolutely. In the data feedback, we've broken it down by ward, and it actually does give an indication as to what day of time preferences, including day of the week preferences, that the community have said that would work best in their space. So in the Taupō ward, the majority came through after 5 o'clock during the week, as most people work till 5 or have children in school and that sort of thing. And so by being able to attend something after 5 o'clock during the week is a good thing.
Okay.
So I guess just through the chair to back to Councillor Westerman's point, that's the ability of doing it slightly different in different places. We can enable that flexibility based on the feedback. So hopefully that takes away some of the confusion, because we're setting things up that suit each community based on what they've told us.
Councillor Foreman.
I'm just looking at the recommendations on the board there. Well, I'd love to say I'd like to adopt that fully. I'm just hesitant that we're reiterating, we're using language that continues to be incorrect, around, especially with the re-establishment of the Tongariro and Mangakino. It was never disestablished. It was just, so if we can just fix that, but also I do wonder whether we can split that recommendation, that yes, we get those 2 rep groups because they've already got quite clear terms of reference and how they operate. If we can get those up and running ASAP, but have a little bit more information on how the Connect forums will be run, and include Te Papa Māoridea.
Just through the chair, yes, we can definitely do that, that process. I guess just clarifying the first point and why the wording talks about re-establish. At the election, all of the committees of council do disestablish, so they all come to an end at the point of the election. So that wording is just clarifying that.
Yeah, I suppose it's that using language that continues.
Just for clarity, I also feel like you're in debate, and so it's up for you. It's for you how you wish to word your resolution. So just
Councillor Leonard.
No, I'd just like us to be cognisant in relation to this. Relating to the feedback, I do wonder if the financial amounts, you know, the cost of the chair, the cost of the members, the cost of the travel, the cost of the staff time, the cost of the notifications, versus the benefit and the decisions that are made, which the committees are not currently allocated any delegations, versus a Councillor Connect Forum, I would suggest that we'd be saving a minimum of $10,000 per annum, which equates to $30,000 per ward over the triennium, essentially in admin and paying people for additional things, members, chair roles. Is the $60,000 over the 3 years warranted for the level of decision making that is made at those, versus if it's a point of informing and hearing and connecting, then does the Councillor Connect Forum reach that adequately without the additional cost and time of $60,000 over a triennium?
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just on Kylie's question there, so you're asking whether or not our representation is worth $60,000?
Well, I listened to your rhetoric around the elected members, the appointed members of committees last year, and there were some very upset people hearing that you didn't feel that they'd done a great job. So to that point, do these committees have a place?
Yes.
Sorry, I did that so we could hear. So you are actually, Councillor Cameron, you are actually next, but somehow we need to release a microphone.
Someone needs to.
Well, I was next, that's why she wasn't.
Well, no, he cut me off, but that's okay. If you want to go first, go for it. That's okay.
No, it doesn't make any difference. I've lived in countries where democracy doesn't exist, and I know what it's like to live in a country where democracy doesn't exist. I'm sorry, when it comes to democracy and representation and voice of the people, that's just not a discussion to have around this table. There's lots of other places that we can save money. We need to make sure that those people who are on those committees are committed, that they're there to do the job that they're asked to do or elected to do, and that we acknowledge that. We don't expect to come to this table and not get paid for it, or apart from the fact of the hours that we put in and what we do get paid for it. That's beside the point. The price of democracy in this world is, I'm sorry, you don't argue over that.
Councillor.
So I have a question. Are we in question time?
Or in debate? Yeah, but both.
I didn't get a chance to ask any questions because we went straight into debate.
Yeah.
I personally am in favour of more representation on a more informal basis. I think that will provide a lot more flexibility for us to meet the needs of the community. But some of the feedback is about losing the oversight and the accountability, looping back, as you mentioned, getting back to those communities to ensure that what they've inputted into our groups or they've contributed, that we're seeing through. So, I mean, I've got some ideas in my mind about what we could possibly do to close that gap. We can still have the accountability report. We should upload that to the website, because although we did go out and consult over Christmas and that didn't help everybody, we've got a lot of absentee owners as well, and so I felt like it was a good opportunity to chat to them. And one of the things that they said is that they don't know where to look to see what's going on. They're not going to be able to get to our rep group meetings. So if we have a bit more flexibility, can we live stream? Can we report back? What are the best ways that we can ensure that the transparency and the accountability isn't lost if we decide to go a more informal route?
The answer is an absolutely yes. There is absolutely an ability to live stream and even potentially do live questioning through that live stream. There's an option to potentially submit questions prior to a forum, so that as elected members you receive those questions prior to being in front of the public if they don't feel like they have the confidence to deliver it in an open forum. I think that an update to our website in order to show key action points and outcomes from the meetings as well would be critical, especially when you're taking a holistic view across our district. There are some parts of the district like Kinloch who do take an interest in other parts of the district and stuff and take guidance from that. So I think absolutely yes, we can do more in that space.
And do you think that having, you know, a formal committee with standing orders would make that very difficult to achieve? The flexibility and the agility, the ability to meet the community where they are?
I think in all honesty, since we've had the rep groups going, we've had agendas and minutes publicised consistently on our website. I don't know the click options as far as how many clicks the agendas get and the minutes get as far as how much they're read and that sort of thing. But through the feedback we got, there was a very resounding result around them wanting email updates or through the website. So, but I think potentially in a way that's easier to consume.
Yeah, and so maybe like a snapshot, quarterly snapshot of all the different areas and what's been happening in the accountability. Yeah, that
more
would be
like
good.
a high-level overview rather than formalised conversation through minutes.
Because a lot of the feedback that I've had and what made me instigate a discussion is that the standing orders seem to be what was prohibitive for the public to have their say. So, would you? I mean, it seemed to be reflected in the feedback too.
It most certainly did come through the feedback, and being the ELT member who sat on the Kinloch rep group for the last 5 years, I can say that it has been a point of contention in Kinloch around the inability to ask questions throughout a meeting, and that certainly came through in Kinloch's feedback with the survey.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Your Worship. On our rep groups, before Kylie, you mentioned that I had issues with them beforehand. The issues were not with the rep group itself. It was our community reps not showing up to the meetings, the council not advertising to the community when the rep groups were happening, not advertising where they were happening, not advertising where to find the minutes. The issues was around the communication with our representative groups. Our representative groups in Mangakino Paokani have worked very, very well, and I, for one, got to experience that before standing for council. I found the rep groups a great place to voice concerns and opinions within my community. I found that the process was easy and it wasn't too formal in Mangakino Paokani. The councillor previous to myself, Kirsty, was great and always let us speak for a decent amount of time, and we often got our questions answered straight away. So the representative groups for us have worked very well, just needing a few of those minor touch-ups.
Councillor Taylor.
I just want to be clear, are we still in question time or debate? Because I feel
we are officially in question time, but we've got
because we are straying and we're being unfair on staff because we are dragging them into the debate. Respectfully, I think we just need to be clear on that. I've got some comments to make, but I would prefer to wait until we're actually in debate, so we're not unfairly disadvantaging staff to help us make a decision.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for reminding me of my duties, and I'll remind everyone in the room we are officially in question time, not statement making time. Councillor Greenslade.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, Stuff. One of the issues that I had with my group was that because it was 2 months out, the minutes didn't come out, of course, until a week before the next meeting. And so what Councillor Cameron has just suggested about putting an update out and putting something out to the community, is that something that you think would be feasible that we could actually do following our meetings?
So the process, I'm going to jump in this one. So the process, obviously, if it's a formal council meeting, the minutes come back to be confirmed at the next meeting. So that's why that's the role that we work under in terms of standing orders. So that's why it's a formal committee. You bring it back to the next meeting to be
of course that was the issue.
Correct.
It was 2 months later, and people had forgotten what had been talked about, and it was 1 week out, and so there's not really the facility to sort of say this is what we talked about and it will be discussed at the next meeting or something like that, without sort of committing us for the rest of our life.
So, Councillor Greenslade, we are in question time. Is there a question?
That's the question.
We need to move on.
That's the question. That was the question.
Well, just say it again. I obviously must.
A question.
So I think I understand the question.
Change it to a forum.
Yeah.
Councillor Delator.
The ability to come, the ability to come back and just sort of give a bit of an update on what happened in the meeting without committing us to the rest of our life. But it could change in the next meeting because when the minutes were approved. So this has been one of the issues, and I had that issue as well too, that I couldn't go back and talk about these things. Well, I could talk about them. Obviously, there was no issue there in talking about them, but it was one of the issues that that there wasn't enough communication back to the community, and we've got the same issue with the Turangi-Tongariro Governance Committee. So we're looking at a different. I don't know if it's different. We're looking at comms, end of story, and that's something that presumably we can talk about.
Just through the chair, yes it is. I guess the formality of standing orders means you have to wait until the minutes are approved, but that doesn't limit the ability to do some more informal comms around the outcomes of the meeting before that time. Yep, so that's definitely something we can look at.
Perhaps we need a bit of a reminder on standing orders here. Nicola, I think Councillor Delator, did I cut you off?
No.
You're right. Question time, people. Councillor Western.
Just a query. So we're throwing around a 1-year trial period for the Connect forums, correct? Yep. So would we then do it across the board just to have that one size fits all, but fitting it into each community?
I guess just through the chair, I don't think they're intended necessarily as a trial period, but I think there'll be an opportunity at 12 months to check in with the communities to see how the structure that you have established is working for them, and if any tweaks need to be made.
And just further to that, I guess that's why I'm suggesting stepping out of the formal standing orders of council gives us a bit more flexibility to change if we need to. There should still be some very formal, consistent accountability reporting. We will always, I believe, have a community rep staff member to be able to take notes. If we were to have a website specifically related to each of those wards, and that is updated and accountability is clearly seen from everybody, including absentee owners, can that be...
We're in question time. We're in question time, not debate time.
Is
there a question?
Yes.
Right.
I don't know why you're having a go at me. Everyone else has been going on for bloody ages. Anyway, is it something that we can do to combine the fact that we need formality because of this need to be accountable and transparent, but stepping out of standing orders to allow for that to be a bit more flexible as a base level that gives each of the individual areas the ability to perhaps adjust that to suit them? Is that a possibility to do that? Best of both worlds.
Yes, the option's on the table.
Just a reminder, this session has been live, it's been screened and live broadcast. Profanity and everything goes. So, Councillor Mananui, you've got a question, I hope?
An actual couple of questions, yep. This process started off the back of a number of requests from councillors, and you guys presented a workshop for us, correct? Just for everybody listening? Cool. We talked around a bunch of ideas. You and the team went away, did some work based off those ideas, brought them back and presented them to us, and we all agreed to the engagement process and survey, correct?
Yes, correct.
Cool. That should be clear. I'll note there were some councillors not present for one or both of those gatherings, so some of the comms may have been missed. Last one is just a thank you, because certainly after seeing the data, support, there was a hell of a lot of work, so thanks.
Okay, Councillor Woodward, I hope it's a question.
It's a question. Yes, thank you. Yes, my question, now it's running out of my head. The engagement that was done with us councillors on the survey, where is the evidence or the feedback that you got from us when you sent through the consultation survey questions. When you emailed the survey consultation to us as all councillors, did you receive an okay from every single councillor from that email?
Just through the chair, the circulation of the engagement and comms was done to ensure that there was any questions or content that you would like to see changed. There was a couple of comments, but nothing substantive was made to that at that time.
Okay, are there any further questions?
I think just for hope, just the okay was the direction that the council gave, and then the survey that came around to councillors wasn't for us to okay that because we had already okayed the engagement to commence. The survey that came round to us was to enable us as councillors to provide any feedback into the questions that was going to go out for engagement, but as far as I'm concerned, the okay had already happened for engagement to commence.
Okay.
Yeah, just very quickly, Your Worship, it's more an answer than a question, but just in response to Rachel about the standing orders, and it's just pointing out that just like this forum here, just because you have standing orders, it shouldn't be a straitjacket. It's really up to the chairperson to make it as liberal as they want.
And we're getting a little bit off track here,
Well, it's up to the
Councillor. So
chairperson,
we are still in question time, although we're about to go into debate. Where there's a motion on the screen, can we have a mover for that? Someone wish to move that recommendation?
I had one last question.
Sorry.
Question. Councillor Woodward, go ahead.
When the email was sent to the councillors to have a look at those survey questions, did you receive feedback from Councillor Sandra Greenslade querying those questions?
I'd have to check back in my emails. I don't have that in front of me at the moment. I did speak, in fact, Tanya and I spoke to Councillor Greenslade at that stage to clarify the questions.
So, question of the chair. Training wheels still on. When do we make suggestions on changing the recommendation? Is it now?
Don't we have to take it to the vote first?
So perhaps if Councillor
You were
Foreman
just
wanted
about
to
to move it.
move a motion or move an amendment, that would be up to her.
Well, yeah, I'd like to move an amendment, but I'd also like to see if anyone wants to discuss it first, because I literally just threw it in there. That's why I'm asking, when do we do that? Just double checking. Thank you.
I do want to get home tonight.
She can move an amendment.
Yeah.
Do that first.
I think it makes sense to put an amendment to the motion, unless someone strongly disagrees.
Yes, Your Worship, I'd like to move the motion as it stands.
Council, sorry. So
I'd like to move the motion as it stands.
So what happens
right,
if
we
I
have a
have
mover and a
amendment?
seconder. Moved by Councillor Greenslade, seconded by Councillor Taylor. That is that right?
Yeah. So now I'm going to suggest an amendment that we split two, and that we agree to the establishment of the Tongariro and Manga Kino rep groups, but the second one would be that those Councillor Connect forums include Te Papa Mariarea, whether or not the Taupō East Rural, and this is where the question is, does the Taupō East Rural one capture enough of the rural community, or should it be a wider one? Yeah, that was the question, but I want help on how to form the second part, because I agree to the first part of that, but I want to amend a second part of that recommendation.
I'd suggest that we look to trial for a year the Councillor Connect forums across all of them and see how they go. We're looking to potentially save $60,000 over the triennium. It makes good sense to me. But we're still having the same level of connection, if not more connection, with more councillors, with more involvement. Save a lot of money and see how it goes for the first 12 months. I think when we start treating areas of our communities in different ways, it's not going to land well for our communities.
Sandra.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So can I, through you, Your Worship, in response to Nahuia, can I suggest that the more detailed and the more specific you are in the, for instance, the more chances you have of being exclusive. So if you step it up a level and use language along the lines of connect forums with groups as appropriate, and that includes marae groups, youth, and other interest groups, as well as geographical groups, then you are broad-based, you're not exclusive, and it's a catch-all. Because if we start naming individual groups, we are by default going to miss someone out, and that's going to fall into the trap you're suggesting. So that would be my suggestion. So recommended wording, given that, Sandra, you have moved it, can I suggest then that as an alternative structure to enable elected members to connect with other communities throughout the remainder of the district as appropriate.
Councillor Greenslade, I take it you... Can you bump your mic?
Sorry.
Or you... Councillor Foreman, can you answer quickly? Are you happy with what was suggested there?
I'm just waiting to see.
Just full stop here, just full stop, after communities.
Through the
Hope.
Those
Hope.
forum, the Connect forum, whatever they're
Oh
called.
yeah, no, just go back.
So we've taken out too much now.
Taking it too much, go back. Real back.
Let's see what it said in our minutes. Mine's died.
Am I going now, or?
We're just trying to word that. I'm trying to get a feeling from you. That was all. Are we wasting
Sorry,
time?
Just going back to what
Are
was
we
originally
wasting
there.
We wasted time doing this whole thing.
No, that's it.
We're just waiting for
Full stop after communities.
Karen to catch up.
Establish alternative structure to enable elected members to connect with other communities.
Okay.
So, Councillor Woodward, can we hear from you then?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to remind everybody that we did receive the survey, all of us councillors, that we were given every single response, and in it you can clearly see how each ward wants to be represented. Turangi and Mangakinoa absolutely want to keep their rep groups. If you're asking a question, Councillor Foreman, about Taupō East Ward, as stated before by Councillor Murch, don't ask Councillor Leonard, look at the review answers.
I think to that point there was a lot of disinformation shared by some councillors out on social media that skewed the results of the survey.
That's just your opinion.
Through the chair,
Councillor Cameron.
I have a tendency to agree with Kylie on this one. I think there was engagement on social media that gave the impression that it was all or nothing, that disestablishing meant no replacement, and people were rightly very concerned that their representation was being taken away completely. My interpretation of the data is that although they want strong representation and accountability, and they want follow-up, they want to ensure that things don't get missed, They still want a more informal approach to those meetings and more councillors around that table for that discussion. Now, the more councillors who are in these areas, the better informed we are at making decisions here. My feeling is we should trial something that is still a representation group. It is still a way to connect with everybody. We don't need the very formal and, straitjacket feeling standing orders, but we can ensure that there are guardrails in place so that reporting back to those communities is happening on a regular basis on the website, in those ward areas, so that absentee owners can look too. We absolutely can have our cake and eat it too if we do this right. We can meet our community needs and we can ensure at this table that nothing gets missed, because that's our job. It's no good putting that on a rep group. It's our job to ensure that we're making the right decisions for the entire district, because let's not forget, we are Taupō district councillors. We represent the entire the district. Yes, we're elected by our ward and we have some obligations there, but it's more about being available to the people in that ward. We're making decisions for Mangakino. We're all making decisions for Turangi and Tongariro. So let's make it easier on ourselves to make a decision that meets the needs of the community by giving them every opportunity to talk to us. That's all this was about. It was never about taking away representation. It was never about taking away accountability and not being transparent. It was designed to enhance that. I want to have our cake and eat it too.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Taylor.
Happy to have the cake. Can I just bring us back to a comment you made, Your Worship, at the beginning of this, and comments we heard during the election cycle is that the only time we ever hear from you lot is when you want our vote. This is about connecting with our communities. All we're deciding at the moment is the process about how we go about that. So in my mind, based on the recommendation we've got, if Mangakino Pokani and the Tongariro group want the rep groups as they were, okay, te pai, have the rep groups as they were. If it, but the irony of this is I'm hearing from both of you that it didn't work, that it was a problem, that people didn't turn up or whatever. If that's the case, then it's for you to help remedy that. But if that's what you want, if that's what your communities have told us they want, give it to them. But what I also heard very strongly is other groups, like the Māori community with marae groups and the Taupō community, one of whom we heard in the public forum today. There are some passionate people in this part of the district who care about what we do, but we haven't got anything for them. Which brings me to the next point. I have some issue with the paying people to turn up to be represented or to be connected with in some parts of the district and not in others. So I'm sorry, I'm a bit staunch on that. People will turn up to be connected with or to connect with us, and so we can provide a connection, so I'm using that word far too many times, because they care about their community and because they want to be engaged, not because we're paying them to not turn up.
Councillor Campbell.
On that note of money, just make the point that, well, on the last term, the chairs of these committees, I believe, got an extra dose of money because of the responsibility. Yeah, as with all chairs of committees. So just reiterating, reminding, if anyone's case anyone's forgotten, but the remuneration authority had to be contacted and adjustments made. And I think it probably has to be voted on too. I'm not sure, but anyway.
Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just going back to comments from Councillor Cameron. So the Mangakino Pokani ward, in the survey, if you look in there, our number for formality is 4.1. So we do want more formalities. We don't want... That's a little less than. It's the other way. I'm sorry, I'm speaking. So 4.1 was the scale for formalities. We do want formalities, and that is very clearly seen in the feedback that we did get from those surveys. As Kevin was saying, some formalities work in some places, some don't work in others. And if Kinloch doesn't want their structure, that's fine. But we don't need to be upsetting the rest of our communities because the Kinloch group wasn't working right. There is nothing wrong with the Mangakino Pokani or the Turangi-Tongariro group, they don't need to change, once again.
Councillor Foreman.
Am I still allowed to make changes to that? I'm getting confused where we're at. I just don't want us to have in the remainder of the district, just throughout the district, because within the Tongariro and the Mangakino, well, it's quite huge, and that would cut out a lot of the Papamariarea section if we were to say we're not going back in there. So just for clarity, there will be other hui within those, or opportunities to connect with groups within those communities.
Councillor Dirtle.
So just a formality, that's, so correct me if I'm wrong, but Councillor Greenslade moved the motion. If there's going to be an amendment, it needs to be with her approval.
We're not going to the vote yet though, are we? We're still in debate.
No, but we have edited it, and it needs to be run past the mover.
Are you okay with that change, Sandra?
I'm quite happy with the change as it stands, yes, and this means that what Councillor Foreman was talking about, that there would be other community groups there. I'd just like to make the point though, on the Tongariro representative group, we had a Maori representative, Dave Potaka. We had the Maori councillor, Councillor Fletcher, and we also had Mel Albert, who represented the communities of Papakai, Otakau, and out there. So it actually was very well represented by Maori actually on that representative group. Yeah, but I'm happy with that. That's fine by me.
Thank you, Councillor Greenslade. Councillor Mananui.
Just
oh, sorry. Nicola, you're on my blind spot.
I'm in your blind spot. Right.
Please grab the opportunity while you can.
Thank you. I haven't spoken yet at all, I don't think, just been listening, and so I just want to take the chance to thank Tanya and her team for an exceptional effort over a very busy time period as well. I thought it was a good process where we did get chance to feedback when we could, and some chose to do that. So thank you. I do just want to express my thoughts that I felt the data that has come back is a little skewed due to some information that's gone out by some councillors prior to us getting a chance to formally do that. For example, our formal consultation started on the 23rd of December, but we were receiving emails with concerns about what we were asking the community for from the 12th of December or even earlier. I've also got screenshots on my phone from social media posts, which just were a little disappointing in terms of the way that the information was shared a little too early and a little misinformed. Some of the community I spoke to, felt really staunchly that they needed an agenda and minutes, particularly from the areas that they'd been communicated to about what was being taken away from them, which wasn't my understanding of what we were doing at all. And when I suggested maybe a run sheet prior to the meeting or action points after the meeting as replacements for those, they were quite happy with that, so that formality. So I guess having said all that, I'm happy to go ahead. I've heard, Sandra, I agree, changing again in a district that has been changed several times already wouldn't be useful, and so to keep the rep groups as they are in those two areas, I'm happy to agree with. I really like the idea of these councillor Connect forums to trial in the other areas, and I think it'll give us a really good gauge heading into the next review with around the representative groups. It's not for this meeting, but I agree with Kevin around them both being quite similar formats and doing the jobs and having some paid and some not. I had to take exception to and would like a further discussion around that at the appropriate time. Thank you. Happy to go ahead with what's on the board.
Thank you. Councillor Dill. Councillor Murch.
Thanks Nicola and Kevin. I agree with your guys' points, I think. And sorry if this has been covered, but I just have a question around, so we've got two options, right? We've got re-establish or establish the Tongariro Mangakino Pauakane rep groups, and then establish a different structure like the Councillor Connect forums. But I mean, other than having standing orders and formal, meetings and whatnot, what's the difference? What's the difference other than we're going to be paying 60 grand to operate 2 rep groups over the next 3 years? I just really want to know what's the big difference is here. If someone can answer.
Anyone want to comment on that, other than it's 60,000?
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
Rachel?
I'm going to lose my place again.
Oh, for me, yeah, I was going to say, look, just, well, at least for Taupō Ward, we'll have something, which it currently got nothing, so that's the difference.
So
No, sorry, I meant sorry.
So if I can help answer it, when I look at the recommendation on the board, it says nothing about remuneration. This is about a structure and a process for engaging with our communities. And I'll reiterate what I said before. I have significant issue with one structure paying people to turn up, and another structure, welcome, we're happy to listen to you. No, not at all. This is about us connecting with our communities. That's it. Not about who we're paying and who we're not. And that's not what's on the board there.
Thank you for that clarification.
100% agree. If I could just make a little suggestion, it might seem pedantic, but I'm just thinking about the other communities here and who are looking at that. So establishes an alternative structure to enable, establishes an alternative representative structure. I don't want the other regions, the other areas to feel like we're downplaying the importance of that, because we're not. We're still looking at representing. So if we could establish an alternative representative structure, I think I'd feel a bit happier with that resolution.
Councillor Greenslade.
I should have asked the staff this, but I presume, Julie probably have to answer this one, I presume that the rep groups will take the same structure as before, or are we going to have a look at the structure and say, actually, we're going to do them differently as well? Because we haven't really talked about that, have we? We've just sort of said, oh, we're going to re-establish them, but is that, yeah, exactly. But yeah, well, the community forum is completely new, so I understand why there's no understanding around that. But the question is are they going to, because from my point of view, I would like to see them structured differently. I think there's a better way to do them.
I guess
no, I don't mean that. What I mean was the actual content of it, because before they were, we put an ad in the paper and people applied, and what we found was that only people who were willing to apply to an ad in the paper and put forward their CV were considered for it. So that was a totally different process. Whereas I think there's a better way of appointing people to those groups.
But that's not part of the motion.
No, it's
Councillor
not. But
here.
that's the
So
question.
can we just stick to the motion, because you're getting down into the detail there. Councillor Manor.
I guess my only thing was probably for staff, whether is that number 3 too broad, or there's enough there?
So look, we've been having a conversation in the background for exactly that reason. I think what we're going to have to do is get some firm direction around where you want to go, and then probably come back to you with an implementation plan. The wording of the resolution that was there before was to give council staff direction about where you wanted community forums. I don't think you're going to get there today. I think you're looking at an implementation report coming back to you to next month.
Is everyone? Oh, Councillor Woodward.
Well, if we're done, then we can be done.
One final question. We got a date around
we're
this?
Not done.
No.
Well, I think my question will be, if you follow on from Kevin's comments, if you're putting them all on the same level playing field, then the rep groups in whatever format won't be getting paid community representative people attending. They want to attend and be named that, all well and good, but there won't be a payment.
So what do we have to do with what we've got here? Put it to the vote? We have a motion on the screen. We do have a move by Councillor Greenslade, seconded by Councillor Taylor.
Sorry.
Please go ahead.
Sorry,
Councillor
I
Westman.
just wondered, are we not going to hold this over?
Look, my interpretation of what you're moving or proposing to move today is that staff will need to come back with the implementation plan. This gives us guidance about where you want to go based on the survey feedback, but it doesn't give staff guidance in terms of the establishment of both of those, the Connect Forum or those representative groups. So we'll need to come back to you with some implementation plans. That's my take. If I've misinterpreted that, that'd be good to know.
So, and through the chair, this is what we want to do, not how we're going to do it, is then process. That this is what we intend to do. The how comes later. Probably a longer conversation than this one.
Through the chair, how much longer are we looking? Because we've got the funding round coming up, which is usually done within the Mangakino Paukani representative group. So can we just re-establish our 2 ward groups as they were before, and then you guys can figure out how you want to do these councillor connect groups?
In short, not easily. I understand Councillor Greenslade wants to relook at how the representative group will be looked at. If you're having a community representative group, what I'm hearing is there's maybe some views about whether you go out to the community to seek nominations or whether you do something differently. So in short, I'm not hearing that from the room about simply re-establishing what was there last time, which means we'll need to look at another option probably for distribution of grants. And Hadley's going to jump in and correct me. Thank you, Hadley.
Oh, no, I'm not going to correct you. Just to clarify, yes, we would need to look at another option. And if there is no group in place, it would default to council to make those decisions. So council would make the call around that first funding round for Mangakino and for Turangi's established separately. It's a separate committee, yes, that's established separately to distribute in Turangi-Tongariro.
So yours is the only one. That's the issue.
Why is mine the issue?
Because we have the co-governance committee in place, and so we've already got the grants committee.
And within your co-governance?
Yes,
right.
it's been done within the co-governance, yes.
I'm really not sure why, sorry, I'm just not understanding why we can't just carry on as per normal for Mangakino when we know this is what we want. And with this grant round coming up, it was specifically part of the reason that we wanted to keep our representative group, because that's where we decide our community grants in. And that's really important to our community. How many of our councillors and mayor sitting here have been to a Mangakino Paukani representative group meeting? So you guys just, meaning from that is you have, I'm sorry, but no idea how these work and what they mean to our communities. How many people from our community have you directly spoken to without looking at the survey, because the survey was quite confusing and that created a whole nother issue? How many of you have talked to our communities about how they actually feel about the representative group itself?
Well, Councillor, you know that I did councillor, and I've also reached out to people in the community that I actually know. So yes, but I appreciate you've got a difficult situation, and I think we need to find some way of solving it. Would it be helpful for just this occasion to perhaps just have councillors on your committee for your grants? Would that be helpful? Just on this occasion, if it was not possible to get the representative group up and going in time, would that be helpful to you?
Potentially, but I do have a couple of people lined up waiting to be the community reps for the representation group as well.
What? Can I?
Is there any?
Can I ask a dumb question? Are the community grants, can they not be held off until we've got the group up and running?
No, because they're looking for the money. They're relying on the money.
I gotcha. Okay.
Councillor Murch.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is there any reason why you can't carry on meeting with your community in the meantime? It might not be formal, but I suppose the intention of actually having community hui, right? Well, hea te take then? Because for me in Waitahanui, we don't have anything in Waitanui, but I'm not here just for Waitanui. I'm here for the entire Taupō rohe. And so I'm just a bit confused about why you can't carry on having community hui and bringing views of your community to the tepu.
Respectfully, can we come back to the business at hand? We have a recommendation. It's been moved and seconded and debated. I'll say at length. I had some other words in mind. At length is probably close enough. This is important, but it's not to do with this. Respectfully.
Okay, we have a motion on the screen, moved by Sandra Greenslade, seconded by Kevin Taylor. I need to put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. And no. So other than Councillors Cameron and Councillor Leonard, everyone else was in favour.
Sorry, I'm going to oppose too.
And Councillor Murch is no. Okay, that's carried. So thank you very much for that. There's work ahead of us by the sound of that. Now, on to item 5.6. Do we need a 5-minute break or we carry on? I take it no one wants a break, or do you? I think we will. We will have a 5-minute break, so that means that 7 minutes past, we're back here.